Hello everyone, welcome back to Amaze on Stream podcast series. This is Yagmur from EWA team, and today I'm very happy to host here Daniel Calleja from SellerX. And hello Daniel, welcome. How are you?
Hi, very good, very good. Very excited to be talking with you today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy to have you here, actually. And just as a little introduction to the guys out there, Daniel is the head of investment UK at SellerX, and which is actually one of the partners of EWA. And they're helping the entrepreneurs realize the next stage of their businesses, and they're also their lives, I would say. So, I will give the floor to the Daniel first, because I'm really excited and I'm really curious about SellerX and how it works in general. Daniel, can you start with talking about the main motivation behind starting SellerX, or generally what is the problem that SellerX solves for its customers, and how do you help the entrepreneurs in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to be fair, it's quite an interesting story. I mean, SellerX started a year ago now. We actually had our 1 year celebration earlier this month. And I mean, it started during COVID. Like, both our two co-founders were stuck in Germany. One of them, he comes from a financial background. He's worked in private equity. He's done a lot of roll-ups. And the other one comes from more like an e-commerce background. And he started a really, really successful business in Brazil that he grew to the billion of sales. And they started seeing basically all the trends that were happening in the space, how big Amazon was becoming, how a lot of sellers were growing their businesses. And they thought, look, this is a great opportunity to start and do something like this. And I mean, it's also super interesting from my side, because personally, I used to be an Amazon FBA seller, and I was doing that on the side, and I sold my business around the same time. So it was a great time when I started looking at these things. And I was like, so from something that wasn't really there, with the explosion of Amazon, it gave the opportunity for basically bigger players to come in and help and grow these businesses into large brands.
Oh, wow, sounds great. I didn't know that you were an FBA seller. It must be tough, huh? As far as I know, being an FBA seller on Amazon is not an easy task.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, it's super interesting, right? Because I mean, when I started, it was like 2017, and it was a completely different world. Like, back in the day, I would call it fairly easy. You didn't need softwares, you didn't need specific platforms. I mean, I used to use Jungle Scout. That was the only thing I used to. But now, you really need help in order to have a good business. You need infrastructure. Like, Amazon has become so complex and so competitive that you really need to sort of the best tools to be successful.
Yeah, it's like competition on Amazon is just getting hot every day, more and more. So that's so normal that we are but the sellers on Amazon need a lot of tools and a lot of experience to become successful, I would say. And also, we can say that SellerX is founded on a solid experience, because your co-founders and founder they have very solid experience on also financing. That's perfect. And how do you help the entrepreneurs? In which sense you help them?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the way I see it is, I mean, if you're an Amazon entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur in general, I mean, it's a beautiful story, right? You're creating something from nothing. You're creating a product, you're growing it, but at the same time, I think there's always a stage where you run into problems, right? And these can come in many ways, right? You might be tired of the increasing complexity. Like, you might be very good at designing, finding a product, getting a good idea, but you might not like all the logistics that come around with it, and all that admin. Or a lot of the times, what you see is people that grow their business, and they start something that's doing extremely well, and what they find is they don't have enough capital to keep it growing. So this is really where I see where we step in, right? We provide help founders an exit opportunity. We allow them to first of all monetize on all the money and all the value that they've created, right? It's a good way for them to make money. But more importantly, we help them providing expertise in order of taking their brand and growing it into a global brand. And I mean, our mission or our vision, what we want to say is we want to become sort of the digital Procter and Gamble. So have a big pool of brands that we think that are going to be very good consumer products that we can grow and take everywhere around the world.
Wow, so, sounds great. Hope so one day. And like, I also wonder, like, you're not just an aggregator, as far as I know. So like, how do you differentiate yourself from the other aggregators in the market?
Yeah, very, very good question. It's actually one that I get quite often, right? Like, because I mean, the space has been booming recently. There's a lot of players in the space, and it's becoming quite competitive also, not only on Amazon, but also in the aggregator space.
Yeah.
So the way I always say it is, I think there's three main differences between us and some of the other players. Number one is, when you look at the space, there's a lot of aggregators, but there's only a few of us that are global, right? I think there's only like 3 or 4 that can really claim they've got a global presence. I mean, for context, I sit in London, our headquarters in Berlin. We've got an office in Miami, another office in Shenzhen. We've got like a team of 300 people now. So it's growing very, very quickly, and we're very large, and we've got sort of this global infrastructure to actually take those brands that we acquire to a global scale. The second one, I think it goes to something you said, right? The expertise and the knowledge that we bring. I mean, both Malte comes from like an incredible background in terms of e-commerce. Philip who's the other co-founder, comes from finance. But then we've made a lot of very senior and powerful hires, in the sense like we hired the ex-head of Amazon FBA in Europe to be our chief marketing officer. We hired the ex-head of Amazon 360 program to be our growth manager. So in that respect, I mean, we know Amazon is complex, and we bring in a lot of Amazon expertise to sort of grow these brands. I mean, I told you, right? I sit in the investment side, but I used to be a seller as well. So we understand that it's a difficult marketplace, and the more knowledge we can bring from Amazon, the better. Yeah. And then the third one, which is something as well we're quite proud. I mean, it goes to the core of our values, which is SellerX. The X stands for the variable that each seller is different, and they may want and need different things. So that's what we means. I mean, despite being quite big, we really try to tailor our offers to the needs of the seller. And this comes in many ways, right? We work with sellers that want to sell their business and then go and do something else. We're happy to do that. Or we've worked with sellers that sort of want to continue be involved in the brand and continue to maintain upside if the brand grows, and to come and work for us at SellerX. And we also have a lot of sellers like that are now part of the SellerX family. So in that respect, we tend to be very, very flexible to adapt to whatever the seller wants.
Oh, okay, sounds great. Actually, like, I just wondered that you just told that you're a global aggregator, and which is not very common in the market, as you told. And like, is it that you can acquire an Amazon business from like each marketplace that Amazon is open right now? Is that correct? And are you able to grow all of them, like regardless of if it's a small one, if it's a big one, like?
Exactly. So that's goes to like our, I mean, we call it growth levers. In terms of we've got 4. I can tell you about that. But basically, I mean, I know I'm starting to bring in lists, but yes, well, that's definitely the strategy. Like, once we see a product that's doing really well in Amazon, I mean, super competitive, we try to take it to other marketplaces, because there's a lot of synergies between, if you've got like a bestseller in the US, you can then bring it to Germany or to UK or to Spain, etc. There's Amazon review transferability you can take over. And I mean, it doesn't work on all the times. And obviously some products are very specific to specific marketplaces, like, and customer taste may be different around the world. But the value proposition is, we do the analysis, we look at it. If it makes sense, we've got local teams that can help and bring it everywhere.
Okay, cool. Like, but what if I'm a small business owner and I want you to acquire me? Like, how do you work in that sense? Like, do you also acquire very small businesses to grow, or is there any specific metrics like you're looking at?
Yes, I mean, basically that question we get a lot in terms of what are the metrics. Answering your question on the size, and realistically, once you're doing 1 million in sales, that's sort of the benchmark that we're looking at. If you're doing 1 million in sales, or you're in the path to do 1 million in sales very soon. So if you're doing 500K a year, but you're in the path that in the next 6 months, you'll be doing 1 million in sales, then it becomes very, very interesting to us, because we know that it can grow, and if we put in the right investment in terms of people and money, we can take it to the next level. Answering a little bit more your question about what we look at it in terms of products. I mean, we've got a couple of criteria. I think the number one is obviously the category. We want to make sure we focus on specific categories. One is, I mean, we call it evergreen categories. So we like things that are always going to be needed, to say it that way, like things like home and kitchen, sports, gardening, pets, those things. Like we love them because you're always gonna need these things. Things we stay away, like everything, like for example, very fashion oriented, everything very electronic, because there's always constantly changing, and it's a bit more difficult to have something that's going to stay forever. Then we obviously care a lot, and there's the number one is about the product. Like we want products that are doing really, really well on Amazon, that have got a lot of reviews, that people are very happy, that've got a very strong positioning organically, because I mean, that sends a very powerful signal, right? If you're looking at a product that people love, they're buying, it's ranked really high in the most competitive marketplace in the world. It gives us a lot of confidence that it's a product that we can take everywhere, and everywhere is going to be successful. The other thing, I mean, there's a bit more specific, but it's for us, it's super important to understand the operations of the business, right? So how the business is run, where they source the products, what's the process, who runs the business, was the role, do they have dedicated people for customer service, etc. I mean, we like to dive very deep to understand the business, what we can do and what we can't. Then similar to that, expansion, right? If we look at it, is what I was saying before, right? Like taking it to other marketplaces, we like to do the work there of, if we acquire this business tomorrow, what can we do with it? Where can we take it? We're not, like, for example, we might buy like a great product in Amazon Spain, but we see that like it wouldn't make sense to sell it in India, for example, because the customers are very different. But for example, we might see that it makes a lot of sense to put it into retail, or to launch its own website and grow it directly from its own website. So that's the growth opportunities that we can do. And then last one, I mean, don't want to say it's less important. It's probably one of the very important ones. We care a lot about the financials. Right? So the growth, the margins, just a bit specifically, sort of like different stages of the P&L and the balance sheet, to see if it's interesting for us from a financial standpoint. Okay, so like what was interesting for me is that like you're also looking into the employee part in the businesses that you are acquiring, because like, for example, do you also continue I really wonder that part. Do you also continue to work with the employees in that business, or you just remove all the employees, you fire them, and you just put your own employees? How does it work? No, it's a great question. This is like literally number one concern for a lot of the of the business that we acquire. I mean, it's like, oh, what happened with my team? What happened with my people? So the way we like to, I mean, the thing is, we like to keep the employees that are part of the business, because number one is the ones that they understand the business best, and they're the ones that have grown it and do it. So the way it normally works is, once we acquire a business, there's a transition period, normally around 3 months, where it's a time where like this business stays the same, like the employees don't leave or anything like that. And after that is sort of when we evaluate. Like in most of the cases, most of the team stays, but in some cases there might be things when it doesn't make a lot of sense. For example, customer service. If we've got like a team that's doing customer service, and we already have a team that's there, and there's nothing particularly novel, then we might consider either working them together so they do everything, or maybe just moving out or phasing out. In general, it's more the opposite. Like it's what tends to happen is a lot of the people that sell is either employees prefer to go and do their own thing rather than us not wanting them. But in general, I mean, I'm very happy. Like most of the, I mean, actually in the room next door, I've got like one of the businesses that we acquired, and literally all the employees are still there. So it's, yeah, I mean, that's sort of the way, because that's also when we do the analysis about looking at a business, we're factoring in these employee costs. So it's not something where we're gonna like take them off, right? We already accounted them when looking to buy the business.
Okay, so it is good for the employees in the next door to hear that they're not gonna be fired at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice actually, because I didn't know that part, and it's very like interesting in my opinion. And like I also wonder how does your like oral acquisition process, how the store owners would apply, and how you evaluate their businesses, and like how long does it take? I would love to know the overall process.
Yeah, no, perfect. I mean, it's a good question, because it's a new space and not a lot of people know how it works and everything. But I mean, the way it works, I mean, if anyone listening to this or anyone sends me an email, daniel@sellerx.com, or if you go to our website, I mean, we've got like a form that people can fill in. And the way it works is you go there, you say that like you're interested in selling your business, and me or someone in my team will give you a call and tell you, hey, you're interested, we'd love to chat. And we have what we call our initial call. That's sort of the first step. And there we just really want to understand about your business, your story, what you've done, and why you're interested to sell. Then after that, we will basically, if it's interesting, we'll basically ask you for a bit more information. And another call, like we would like to see, for example, more of the financials, monthly financials, to see so how the business is performing, but also understand a little bit better your mission, like the business going forward, your operations, etc. And I mean, we like to do quite a lot of work at that stage. Like that normally will take, depending on how quickly we send each other the information, etc., that'll probably take 3-4 days. And once we're happy with this and we feel like we've got a good understanding of the business, what happens is we'll make you an offer for the business, which is called an LOI, a letter of intent. And there we outline sort of the headline terms of the purchase agreement, like which is basically the price, what's going to happen after the business, what exactly are we acquiring, etc., etc. Assuming you're happy, you sign it, and we start a process, a period that is called the exclusivity period. So what it means is we agree to work together for the sale of the business and prepare all the documentation. And this is like a 4-week process where we basically do due diligence. So we dive a little bit deeper into the financials, we dive deeper into the marketing, the supply chain, etc. And there's a fairly busy process where we ask for a lot of documentation, make sure that you're the actual owner of the business, make sure that we understand sort of how you do your suppliers, how they go, how you're doing things. And after that, and the same time, our lawyers are drafting the purchase agreement. So, and reviewing by yourself and your lawyers. So once it's done, then we can sign. So the whole process takes about 40 days since the first call. And like the due diligence tends to take about 4 weeks.
Wow. Okay, great. Like, I wonder, like, is there any, like, have you ever experienced it? I just wonder, is there any business owner who tried to bargain on the valuation? Because you first sent a letter of intent.
No, of course. I mean, it's very common. I mean, we like the letter of intent. That's when all the negotiations happen, and there's always like a negotiation, right? Because it's always a process in the sense that like we'll offer you something. This is what we think the business is valued, but then you might be like, no, like my business is my baby. It's worth way more to us. So we try to bridge the gap there. Like, okay, why is it worth for you that? And we try to tell you, look, this is why it's worth for us this. So there's always like a bit of a negotiation. And that's when, I mean, we can be flexible in the sense that, say, for example, you tell me, look, my business is worth 1 million now, but look, in 2-3 years, it's going to be worth 5. So we tell, okay, we'll pay you 1 million now. And in the next 2 years, or in next year, we'll pay you like a percentage of the profits. So you also have a lot of the upside if the business goes well. So it's definitely a negotiation there. And And it goes to what I was trying to say at the beginning, right? We try to make it that you're happy with the value that we're bringing, and we structure the offer so you get basically a bit more for what you're after.
Okay, so do you acquire completely, or do you just, for example, the owner can keep get a commission each year? Is there any this kind of agreement? Like, for example, yes. I sell my business to you, but for lifetime, I will get 15% of the revenue not revenue, but profit every year. Is there? Yeah,
exactly. It's called an earnout. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying for lifetime. I mean, the market standard is sort of 1 year. I mean, we've seen sometimes that it can go up to 2 years. But yes, like it's something that because all these businesses are high growth businesses, so it's a way for the seller to benefit from us taking over the business, right? Because if your business selling only on Turkey, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take it everywhere around the world, I say, oh well, you're gonna be rich. I was like, yes, but let's be rich together, right? We'll give you a percentage of the profits in the first year, and maybe in the second year. So you also benefit from the growth that the business is going to have long term.
So it's win-win. Sounds great. Cool. And I also wonder, is there any selling categories on Amazon that you think more profitable than the others? Like, for example, I would love to buy the stores who are selling on the clothing categories more than the others. Do you have any this kind of preferences?
Yeah, I mean, we focus on the ones I mentioned, right? Like evergreen categories rather than very tech. I think the way I see it, and obviously it's a bit subjective, right? I think there's definitely some categories that command higher margins. And for me, the more the commoditized the product, the less the margin, right? The less product differentiation, the less brand value, the less people are gonna pay for it. I mean, light bulbs, for example, they're all the same or very similar, so it's very difficult to assign a premium. And when you see the margins are very thin, but I'm sure you see it on things like more related to beauty, health, etc. There you can command a bit more of a brand and a premium, and yes, I mean, yes, and it's basically driven by competition and type of product.
Okay, cool. So my last question would be as we know that you're just acquiring businesses and growing them, so you must be good at growing the businesses. What do you recommend to the entrepreneurs to level up their business? For example, maybe there are some businesses who would love to level up their business first and then after selling it to you or any other aggregator.
No, it's a great question. I mean, I think the way I would say it is, if you think about your business, number one is you need to have a very good understanding of your business financials first. So how are you making money? How much are you making, etc. And here, what's great is there's a lot of tools out there in the market that can link to your account and tell you what's your profitability, etc. Because once you have this insight, becomes much more easier to prepare for a sale, right? Like cleaning up all these things, a bit also on the institutionalization, like making sure you've got the right company set up, all the authorizations to sell the products that you may need, all the right certifications, all these are all the things that you're going to need down the line. And so the earlier that you do the work and you have it, the better. And then, I mean, obviously this depends also on your capacity, your resources, your time, but the more you can sort of show the growth strategy and the expansion, the better, right? If you can already start growing a D2C channel, like your own brand, etc., that commands a very, very good premium, because it shows that people are looking for your brand, you're building a brand aspect, and people like it. And same if you've been growing your business in Turkey or Spain or wherever, and then you take it to France, and it shows that it's also growing, and you shows that you also VAT registration for the UK, all these things. It helps because it shows that the business can grow and it can be successful. And yeah, I mean, to give you context, some things that we've done before, like we've had sellers come that were a little bit too small for us, and we looked at their business, and maybe, for example, their marketing wasn't that right. So we've put them in touch with our internal marketing team that's helped them optimize the marketing. And then we've said, look, let's connect in 3 months. And in 3 months, the business has grown, the profits have improved because they're wasting less money on campaigns and PPC that are not relevant. And then they become an attractive target for us. So yeah, I mean, basically lots of little things. I think people that are there know their business better than anyone, but yes, the more brand identity, the more growth you can put in the business, the better.
Perfect. Yeah, like I hope that like if there is any small business owner would get just they use this little information to grow their businesses. So that was a great conversation, and thank you so much for that. Like I think that it was really informative, and also it is informative for the businesses who would love to get in touch with SellerX, I believe, in future. Thank you for joining me here today, Daniel.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure. Have a really good rest of the day. And obviously, if you need anything, or if anyone listening to this wants to connect, my email is daniel@sellerx.com. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. And for you guys out there, stay tuned till the next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.